Hey guys, it's Takasta here again. Welcome to another video review. So today I'll be reviewing the Thronmax Carbon X1 gaming mouse. So this is going to be a little bit different to my usual video reviews. So usually I review big name companies such as SteelSeries, Razer, Logitech, Rocat, etc. So this time I'm reviewing a product, a mouse from Thronmax. And who are Thronmax, you might ask? Who is Thronmax? So Thronmax is a up-and-coming Chinese gaming peripheral company in China. And there are, in fact, a lot of peripheral companies in China, but then they find it hard to really make it because their cogs are usually not as high class or high quality. This, I guess, Thronmax is a company which is trying to push out high quality products at a very, very good price point to, I guess, compete with like the big name companies such as Razer and SteelSeries. So some basic specs. Well, they did release a laser mouse and a hard mats for their first releases. And for this Carbon X1 basic specs, let me do a rundown. Uses an Avago 9800 laser sensor. It goes up to 8200 DPI in 100 steps. So you can preset this to 4 DPI settings, where you just adjust using this button here. You scroll through. It also uses, in terms of the switches, it uses a different OMRON D2F-F switches for the mouse 1 and mouse 2. I'll talk about this later, but this basically it rebounds nicer, as a much crisper rebound than the normal D2FC F7N switches like in the Canon V2 and found in most other gaming mice, to be honest. And this is quite a nice refresh as well. For the side buttons, it also uses the OMRON D2F but -1 switches, so they're much more clickier, much better response, I feel, than compared to the normal a lot of them use Huanos or TDCs or whatever other switches for the side buttons. In addition to this, it also has an adjustable weight, which is a cool feature. I guess you find this in a lot of other mice, but they have kind of 3 screws here which you can screw in. Other than that, Braided Cord, it also has 128 kilobytes of internal memory. So a lot of things you do find very, very similar in other laser mice. So just general background, to give you some background, this mouse priced, it is only available in China at the moment. In China, it's priced from 249 to 299 RMB, but I'll be selling some on my eBay store. I'm pricing it around like 49 US, like to about like 59 US, like depends on where I'm shipping it to. So in terms of the price range, it is slightly cheaper option than the other Avago 9800 mice, I guess. It's kind of in the same range as the Miser. Miser, I guess, is from CM Storm. This is from a new company, but the build quality and the shape and overall, it is quite different. I would think in general the build quality, I'll move on to that in a bit. In terms of weight and dimensions, it does weigh in at 104 grams, so this is a relatively heavier mouse. You're looking at like lighter than the G700S, obviously, but then you're looking at a Sensei, you're looking at like big mice, relatively heavy mouse, so this is not light. In comparison, you see my Canon V2, it is quite light at like 80 grams, 85 grams, 100 grams. You're not going to be claw gripping or really lifting this too much because of the weight. For its dimension is 83 millimeters by 118 millimeters by 39 millimeters in height. So it does have quite a high profile, but it's not extremely long, not like the Ryo. So in terms of my hand is 19 centimeters from the tip to the base. It is a decent shape, but I think if my hand were to be slightly smaller, it'd be nicer to palm grip it. At the moment, I am somewhat fingertip claw gripping it, and I think if you had slightly bigger hands, you might be even fingertipping gripping this mouse a bit. Moving on to its shape, and the shape, I would say it does resemble the G9, in fact, a lot. In terms of how it is quite bulgy, so it does fill your palm up quite nicely if you have a kind of a medium to large size hand. I'll talk about on the top, I guess, is the chassis. I did talk about how it's slightly higher and it's slightly fat, and it's slightly straight, so it does not have a round base like the i3 or like the Miser, in fact. So it's very similar to that of, I would even say the G602 is very similar in that sense. On the right hand side, you see it has a slight space for the thumb, although I do find this slightly uncomfortable, as this area is really, really interesting. Some might like it, some might not. If you chose to put your thumb on the very, very front, you can kind of palm grip it like this. If you chose to put your thumb on the back, you can kind of fingertip it, grip it. But if you put it in the middle, it does make for a slightly awkward. So after a while of gaming and a while of use, I realized, like for me at least, I would put my thumb on the front. So I kind of just like bypass this thumb rest area, which like some people might use, some people might not. If your hand was smaller, you might use it. If your hand was larger, you might not. On the right hand side, it's very, very straight. It has a space here, as you can see, for your 4th and 5th fingers. It just obviously it's a right-handed mouse, so you gently lay your 4th and 5th fingers, and it just lays quite nicely here. Moving on to the build quality of this mouse. So I guess a lot of Chinese companies usually they lack in quality in terms of their packaging, in terms of the quality of material they use. However, I must say that Thronmax, they have like relatively impressed me with the build quality. They're, from what I've been reading, they have been trying to implement a better quality into their mice to really give the customers better value and not just come off as just another cheap company trying to make money off cheap mice. Just from the packaging itself, if you can see from packaging here, when you lift the box, it kind of feels like an Apple product. I'll show you here. Kind of just like slides out, like really like an Apple iPad or iPhone or whatever. You just take it out and then you have this like pamphlet here. So they really went for like kind of a good design. They want to aim for like a high-end look. With the mouse itself, the quality is definitely very, very good. I would say it's even better than CM Storm's Alcor and Miser offerings. It's trying to aim it. Very, very obviously, it's kind of like the Logitech G602, or it's kind of aimed for like kind of the Logitech build quality. In terms of the plastic on the sides here, it does use this matte surface right here, this black. It does use a matte surface very akin to that of the Death Adder 3.5G version. So it is like kind of slippery. If your hands were very, very dry, you would feel very, very slippery. You won't be able to grip it as well. However, if your hand was slightly moist, it would be good. For this, as you can see on the Mouse 1 and Mouse 2, they used a slightly different surface. This surface is kind of similar to the G602 surface a little bit. So the fact that they employed kind of a two-sided coating, I guess is a design issue, but that's pretty cool. I must say the build quality is like not a crappy quality. It's not the kind of quality, the UV coating found in the CM Storm. I mean, it's the CM Storm Miser or the Alcor or the FK for that matter. So I guess this build quality, it really depends on whether or not you like it. Some might like this kind of build quality. Some might like the kind of UV coating stickier like Alcor Miser. But it's really up to you. In terms of the grip, this mouse is not suitable for like I think claw gripping. You won't. It is kind of heavy, and it does take a little bit of force to really grip it up and basically move it. So for RTS games or maybe even MOBA games, it's maybe not as good if you do lift your mouse a lot, like the Kana V2, which is good for lifting. However, if you don't lift your mouse a lot and you do a lot of palm gripping and you just like your mouse stays on the surface a lot, I think this would be quite a good offering actually. Moving on to the switch, so it uses the D2F-F switches and D2F-1 switches for the mouse 1, mouse 2, and the side switches respectively. So this is very different from the normal D2FC F7N switches like the Kana V2, used on almost the IE3, the Razer Death Adder, almost all the good mice out there use that switch. So this is quite a nice refresh. It is very different in terms of its click, so it does give that refreshing, like when someone uses it, you're like, oh wow, this is actually quite different, the click. In terms of the click, it does rebound. It is lighter than the other, like for example, I'll just use the Kana V2. It is lighter than the Kana V2 in terms of its click. However, it does rebound nicer. It's nicer, crisp rebound. It rebounds faster. However, the travel distance is more. So some people might like this. I'll probably post a video of the testing the clicks, and you can try it out for yourself. Personally, I actually prefer these clicks more. Interestingly, even for the side buttons, they use the D2F-1 switches. It just rebounds nicer, it's a nicer actuation, and it just rebounds faster, and it's just a crisper, cleaner, and a slightly louder audible click. So I really, really enjoy that, and that is something I am quite impressed with. Moving on to the sensor. So it's a normal 9800 sensor. As you know, that is the currently best laser sensor out there. However, what I would say is that firstly, the jitter is actually very, very little, even at 1000 hertz and at 8200 DPI. I guess they did a lot of smoothing to kind of get rid of that kind of jitter. However, with that being said, I did not feel a lot of smoothing, which is like input lag, into this mouse when I was using it. So input lag, I don't really mind it as much. I don't feel it as much. Some people might, but all I can say is that the jitter at most of the hertz settings and the DPI settings are quite good. Another thing I have to mention about the 9800 sensor is that one, this does use 100 steps, DPI 100 steps, so you can set it anywhere in multiples of 100. And also the 1000 hertz on this particular mouse is not that stable. For some reason, on the Logitech G700S or any other 9800 sensor, the 1000 hertz are usually quite stable. But the Thronmax Carbon X1, the 1000 hertz is not that stable. Like it's still usable, but it only like averages out at 800 for some reason. So I usually would recommend 500 hertz and 125 hertz. But then in any case, all of them don't really jitter. Last but not least, talking about its firmware. So the firmware of this mouse is quite cool. It comes in English and Chinese. Although the firmware does look a bit cheap, it does get the job done. So you can basically set the DPI settings to 4 different DPI settings, and you just like press this button to scroll through anywhere from 100 hertz to 100 DPI to 8200 DPI you can do. Also, you can set the there's a backlit lighting here, which you can set to any color. You can set it to pulsating, you send it to whatever. However, I haven't quite really use this function as the lighting isn't that prominent anyway, so personally I don't think it's that great of a feature, but you can set it. Macro settings are present. You can save your profile settings as you want, so you can increase acceleration as well, but then most people wouldn't want acceleration anyways. One thing I have to add about the 8000 sensor, it still does have positive acceleration of like about 5%, so you would be able to feel it. Even I set the mouse at 100 DPI and I tried to use it, I could actually feel the acceleration. I tested there was acceleration, so that is something that you can't get rid of. So if you do want to like more one-to-one pixel perfect performance, you should go for the 3090 or the new 3310 from the PixArt. In conclusion, that was a quick summary. Is this mouse worth it? I think for the price point, like just $49.99, it is a very, very solid mouse. It depends on where you're getting it. I think I should be the only seller overseas at the moment. I guess I am doing a promotion for them, but at the price point for a 9800 Avago sensor, it is quite solid. And for the build quality that you're getting out of it, with the adjustable weights, with the 4 DPI on-the-fly DPI settings, and the overall build quality, I think this is a very solid offering. Does it compete to all the other more expensive 9800 mice? Maybe not quite in terms of its shape. It is quite different. It's kind of like a Rocat / G9 / G602 kind of shape. So it's a slightly different offering. With the switches, I guess is the main. For me, it's really a good selling point, and the switches just feel better. A lot of people, when they use like other mice, they want to switch switches anyway. So Thronmax took upon themselves to use different switches to see if they can give a different experience to their game customers. So some might like it. If you're not like a fingertip gripper, claw gripper, I might not recommend this. But if you're a palm gripper and you like laser sensors in general, or like the G602, or bigger or more bulky mouse, this might be a mouse that you might want to try out at this price point. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video review. If you want to pick up this mouse, I am currently selling it on my eBay store, or if you want to just pick up my feet for anything else, you can just go to my eBay store as well. So thanks for the support, thanks for watching, and if you like it, dislike it, and hope you enjoyed that video. So thanks guys.